Hey everyone, I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. Aloha, aloha from the big island of Hawaii. Yes, I'm sitting here on the big island. I came here to work this week and it was a great week of work. And what I have to say is what better way than to finish up with a webinar. A webinar before I head home late tonight. I'm catching the red eye so I can be home tomorrow afternoon, but I want to thank you for joining me today. And today we're going to talk about the importance of communication and communicating effectively with people. Now, the reason I'm doing this today, is because many people asked me to do it again. I did it about 6 months ago, and I had requests to do it again. So we're going to talk about communication and the importance of communication skills in our life and how we can better connect with people. Because again, communication is the #1 skill that we all need to have. And the better we know ourselves, the better we can communicate with others, and the better we know others, we can communicate. So I'm standing here on my lanai, and I know you would rather be looking at this view, right? Than this view. But I'm going to try to give it both to you, both of them. So I'm going to give you a little bit of this, and I'm going to give you a little bit of me. So again, aloha, thanks for joining in. We're going to get started because I do have another session that I'm doing at, I believe it's 1 o'clock your time. And so let's get busy and get going. Welcome, welcome, welcome from California, from Texas, from Georgia, from Tennessee. I'm so glad that you're all here. And those of you on Facebook Live, I so appreciate you joining, and you're going to gain some knowledge today about yourself and about how to communicate with others. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about, again, communication and the importance of communication. And we think that we are truly communicating with people. And I know many of you have probably said to someone, "Are you listening to me?" And I'll say, "I'm listening." And they will say, "You may be listening, but you're not hearing me." Has that ever happened to you? Yes, that has happened to you. And it happens to all of us. We believe that we are communicating, and come to find out, they didn't hear you. Or many times you don't feel that you are heard. So I'm going to bring up some things. We're going to talk a little bit about the different personality styles today, because there are 4 basic personality styles and what they're impacted by and how we can improve our communication methodology with others in our lives. So let me put up my share button. I'm going to share a few slides with you today so we can enhance and get better at communication with friends, with family, with, church members, at the gym, everyone in your life, with your business associates. So give me a moment, my friends, and I'm going to hit the share the screen, and I'm going to bring up the communication. So let me tell you that there's no single most important thing in our efforts to achieve meaningful work and meaningful and fulfilling relationships than to learn to practice the art of communication, because it is an art. We get better at it. We may, just like an artist gets better at their work and their craft by maybe adding a line here, we get better at communicating when we really know with whom we are communicating. So communication, so important. And let me ask you this. What business are you in? I say it doesn't matter. Now, you could be retired. You could be a school teacher. You could be a salesperson. You could be a coach. You could be an executive. You could be a pastor. What business are you in? It doesn't matter what business you're in. And you say, "Well, I'm not working." You are still in the business of people. We are all in the people business. We interact with people every single day. And we're also, therefore, in the business of communicating. So we are in the communication business, and we're in the people business, because if we weren't in the people business, we'd be talking to the wall every day. Well, maybe some of you do. Okay. But really, we are in the people business. We have social engagements. We have business engagements. We have spiritual engagements. We have a whole cadre of different people that we're working with, communicating with, interacting with children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, cousins, relatives, sisters, brothers, the whole gamut. And so understanding with whom we are communicating and understanding what's important to them will go a long way in becoming an even better communicator. So we must understand, and this is from Tony Robbins, he says, to effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different, and we are different. We're different. Every single one of us is different and unique. And once we understand that others perceive the world differently than we do, then we can use this as a guide to understand how we communicate with others. And people are different, as I said, predictably different. We have, and I use the DISC methodology because I am a certified DISC instructor, and people are different. They're predictably different. They're 4 basic communication styles, or personality styles, as we call them. So the D, the I, the S, and the C. Well, what does that mean? Well, guess what? We're going to get into it today. And if you have any questions, Eric is monitoring the chat, but I'm just going to continue going. Let's go, baby. So in our lives, the more we know ourselves, the better we can be. So the first person that we have to look at is ourselves. So looking in the mirror. So let me ask you a question. What is it that you see when you look in the mirror? Do you see a bright, shiny person, a smart, articulate person, a beautiful woman, a handsome guy, an energetic person? So we really need to examine ourselves and see what reflection we're getting back. So the first person that, of course, I need to know is myself. So I'm gonna give you a nice little view again, but the first person I need to know is myself, because when we know ourselves, we become aware, so much more aware of what we're doing. And I know in my own personal growth journey, I have learned so much about myself that I have changed, not changed in a way that you might, but I've just become more aware of who I truly am and what brings me joy and what makes me happy. So the first person I know is myself. And when I'm aware of something, then I can change it should I choose to. And the first person I have to get along with is me, myself, and I. Me, myself, and I. And this leads to a healthy self-image. Now, I tell myself every day, I love myself. I'm a beautiful woman. I'm a courageous woman. And so I pretty much have a good, healthy self-image, but I've worked at it for many, many years. This isn't stuff that happens overnight. And the first person to cause me problems is who? Me, myself, and I. Admitting truth or being candid with oneself brings self-honesty. And the first person that I must change, I can't expect someone else to change. The first person I must change is myself. And because when I do it, it really empowers my attitude of continuing to self-improve. And we're going to be on this earth for a long time. And if you think, honestly, that you can operate in the same way that you did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago, it's not real. It's not reality. So we have to constantly work on our own self-improvement, becoming the best that we can be. So now the DISC tells us that people communicate in different ways. You must understand how they communicate and how they hear you. So again, helps you identify who you are communing with and how they hear things. Let's go back to fundamentals here. What shapes our behavior? There are 3 contributing factors. It's your hereditary. Yes, some of this stuff we inherit. Can't help it. We're going to get those genes passed on from generation to generation. But what's interesting is the next thing that is a huge contributor is the role models we've had, whether it's mom, dad, teacher, coach, pastor, spiritual guide, whatever it is, but our role models up to about age 12. And we start forming our behavior and our personality styles. And then, of course, experiences that we have in our childhood, our teenagers, but really it impacts us after the age of 8. We remember things of pain. We remember things of pleasure. And what happens with us is we begin to develop habits and defense mechanisms so we can cope with the pain, or we can cope and have fun with the pleasure. So we've all had situations in our life where someone may have said, you're not a good singer. Well, of course I'm not, and I know that because I'm very self-aware of that. But sometimes some person may say something to you and you shut down because that was an experience you remember. So, and I have a story about a young gal that loved to sing, and she went home one day and she was singing, and her mother was like, "Stop your singing. I can't stand it anymore." But what she didn't know, mom didn't know, well, I mean, excuse me, what the little gal didn't know is that mom was really having a bad day, and we've all had those. So the little girl remembered that as an experience in her life, and she stopped singing. And it took her many, many years before you could hear her sing again. So if you think back to some of the pains in your life, it impacted your behavior. Now let's look at the DISC descriptive terms. There are 4, as I mentioned. There's the D, which is task-oriented. And if you see on the left side, the C, which is task-oriented people. On the upper side, you see the I, which is the D's and the I's. And then on the right side, people-oriented, the I and the S. And then below, the C and the S are more reserved. And we're going to get into these. We're going to get into these a little more so you get some information that you can use starting now. So again, the D is the dominant driving person. You know who they are. I want it done. I want it done this way. I want it done now. Moms tend to be pretty much drivers in the household. Yes, and since it is close to Mother's Day, yes, we are the drivers, but not necessarily so. You just have fulfilled that role in your family. So the D's are the dominant driving doers. The I's, they're the inspiring, they're the cheerleaders, they're interesting, they're impulsive, they're influence. Yes, I will get on a table and dance. I am a high I. Perfect role for me. And I am very people oriented. I thrive around people. Then there is the C. We all know that the C, I call my son-in-law, and he knows it in lovingly terms, the engineered. He's cautious, he's competent, he's careful, he's correct. Some of my closest friends are married to C's, where they're very analytical about everything. And then there's the S. The S, that is the supportive person, the steady, the stable, and we all need them. We need those people in our lives. So having a balance of all these people in our lives and being able to adjust our communication style when we're dealing with people of these personality styles enhances your ability to communicate. So let's get into the D type, which is the dominant. Here's characteristics. They're decisive. They have big egos. Yes, they want to look good and be right. The 3% of the population, they're the problem solvers, and we need those D's in our life. They're risk takers. They're, again, drivers and doers, but their greatest fear is being taken advantage of. Let's talk about their characteristics. They rise to the top during crisis moments, and you've seen it in your careers. Something has happened, and there's one person that shoots up to the top and provides direction and leadership. And they are the ones that are going to push you. They're going to push you towards making a decision. Okay, they're going to really, like the D's, hey, they want it done. When you go into a meeting with them, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. They maintain focus on the goals. They're really goal oriented. And when they are under pressure and the workload is heavy, you want a D on your team. And they probably are the fearless people. They will welcome new challenges and fears and risks without much fear. They're just like, let's go for it. And you've seen them. Some of the extreme sports people, those are like, let's go do it. They welcome new challenges. Hey, I'm not jumping off a cliff and I'm not jumping out of a plane. So I've got some D in me, but I'm not going to do that. But here, once you know their strengths, now you need to understand their weaknesses and how to work with them. Now, I don't want you to use this to manipulate people. So they tend to overstep their authority. Yes. When I go into D mode, sometimes I will. And I have to stop and lay back. Argumentative. Of course. And they won't listen to the reasoning of others. They dislike repetition and routine. They're going on to the next thing. I used to work with a couple of Ds in my career my career, and they want to move on to the next thing. Let's go higher, let's go bigger, let's go better. And a D person, you have to be aware of that. They will attempt to do too much at one time, hoping that they're going to get some quick results. And they can be accused of being a bit intimidating, because they're so direct. And many of us don't understand. I have friends that are high Ds, and some of my other friends might be intimidated by them because they're so direct. And I'm sure you have people in your life that are similar. And so when we understand that that's their basic personality stuff, we can work around that. All right, so when you're working with a D, here's what I want you to do. I want you to be direct and to the point. If you're going to meet with a D and you know they're a D, don't go into the minutia. Give them what I call the executive summary. Give them the highlights. Focus on the really important points. Points 1, 2, and 3. That's all they want to hear. Focus on business. If you're dealing with a D in business, keep it to business, no social time, and give them results. They love results, and they're very, very competitive. And so what you can do with them is say, hey, I'm focused on the business, and here's some suggestions that I believe that we can introduce to achieve our goals. And one thing, they love, like I said, they want to win, and they are very competitive. So be careful. Now, they're confident and they focus on problem solving, as I said. So good to have. So when you're working with them, solve the problem. Now, there's things to do and there's things not to do. Don't focus on negativity, small details, or problems. Do not ramble on with them. Be succinct, be to the point, be quick. Don't make generalizations because they'll want you to back that up. And again, don't be too social with them, because a D, they just, like I said, what's the bottom line? And many times in our careers, if you think about it for a moment, in our careers, if you look back now and you say, oh, maybe that's why I didn't get along with that person. Maybe that boss was just, that's his basic style, and I didn't understand it at the time. But now you can. Or maybe you're in an organization, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit organization, that you're helping and understanding the nuances of everyone that you're working with. So let's go into the inspiring type. Yes, inspiring type. Yay. That's me, baby. Outgoing, people-oriented, get on top of the table, dance, have fun. 11% of the population. They are, yes, inspiring. They will challenge you to be better. They will influence you to move and to do different directions. They will encourage you to try more. Biggest fear, rejection. And the I's don't like to be rejected, or they don't like disapproval. But here's the positive characteristics about us crazy I's. And by the way, I'm a high I, high D, and a high S. Interesting. Wasn't always that way. I've been working at it. They influence and inspire others. They make great salespeople. They're great teachers. They're great coaches. They will be spontaneous. If you say, hey, let's go to Europe tomorrow, they will say, okay, let's go. Let's do it. They don't need time to make it. Let's go. They have the ability to motivate others when they're on a team or in a group. So there's a cheerleader. Now, back in high school, I was the school mascot, and I was the most spirited person. So that was my natural style. Deals with change well. I mean, in the I personalities, they can deal with change so easily. Like, okay, we were going west, but now we have to go east. All right, let's go. Instead of complaining about it, they'll say, great. Change is constant. We can deal with it. And they love to laugh. They like to have fun, and they accomplish their goals with a sense of humor. I remember back in my corporate days, I was working on a team, and we were really competing for this big account. And I said, okay, everybody, I have a surprise for you. So I bought all this camouflage gear. And I brought war paint in, like they do in the military back in those days. And I brought fake pistols in. I said, we're going to war. So I had the whole team dress in the camouflage outfit. We were ready to go. We walked into the meeting with the vice president and everybody just broke out and started laughing because all right, we're going to get this goal done, but we're going to do it with a sense of humor and have fun. We were ready. I love that picture. I'll have to bring that one up sometime. And they are accepting of others. If one of the things I have been criticized for in my life is I am too accepting of others, that I've been told that, you're always so objective about things. And that's just because I want everyone to be successful. I want everyone to see the wisdom and the power of the different personalities that we encounter in our lives. So here's our weaknesses. Not good with details. Now, this is one I've had to work on. I have never loved bookkeeping, and I have friends that are so good at it. I have colleagues that are good at it. I had clients that are amazing at it. And I have a lot of, well, we'll get into that in a minute, but not good with the details. Have to really work on it. And it puts a strain on the brain because it's something I've had to train myself to do. They are more concerned with people and popularity. Yes, I love people. Yes, the high eyes love people. And this is where a true high eye, not concerned with tangible results in organization. They just like to just go with the flow. So we have eyes that are not great listeners. But again, there are a lot of salespeople that are high eyes. So what does that mean? As a high eye, you have to really learn to listen. What is this person really asking? And so when I coach and I train, I'm always working on how to become a better listener with my clients, because we have a need to tell. And so I have to pull them back and say, wait a minute, we really have to identify what the client's challenge is. And, oh, by the way, did you see that squirrel that just came by? Oh my God, I just saw a bird that went by. Oh, wait a minute. There's somebody down there on the grass. High eyes, distracted. And I've been accused of it a lot. I'm sure those of you that know you're a high eye or have that weakness is we can be easily distracted. I can go down a rabbit hole or the squirrel hole. Squirrel. Here's what you do when working with an eye. Be social. Allow time for sociable activities, right? Build rapport and be friendly. Get to know the people. Give them plenty of time to talk about their ideas. Let them verbalize. And they do need time to share ideas. So when you're working with an eye, there is nothing better than writing down all the details so you can help them remember and understand the things they have to get done. So if you're working with a client and you said, okay, here are the things I need to get done, or you're working on a project and there's a high eye on your team, check back with them to make sure that the action items are done and that they're done to the detail and the level that you want. All right, here's your not to. You've got your should do's and your should not to do's, right? Don't eliminate social time. They need their social time. Give it to them. Don't do all the talking. Let them blah, 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 blah. And if you tell a high eye what to do, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? They're going to say, maybe not. But don't tell me what to do. I do it myself. I'll figure it out on my own. And high eyes are dreamers. So they have dreams. They have aspirations. Do not poke holes in their dreams and laugh at them. And don't give them too many details. Like I said, I've had to work at this because I do bookkeeping for the business. And so I really had to learn how to be focused in that time. And there are ways in which you can do it. And focus on the big picture. Not to do. Don't focus on the big picture. Now, here's the silent majority. This is the biggest percentage of the population that we have. Reserved, people-oriented, 69% of the population is a high S. These are the people we want on our team. They are supportive. They are steady. They are stable. Again, the majority of the population have the high S. Their biggest fear is loss of security. So security is important to them, and they do not like confrontation. They do not like confrontation at all. Now, they are the people that you want on your team. So when you're building a team or you're working with an organization, get some S's for you, because they are going to really enhance the team. They're common sense people. They will work on processes. They will work on procedures. They love improving. And they will give you ideas to improve processes and systems. And they'll say, wait a minute, I think there's a simpler approach to this. There might be a more practical way to accomplish the goal we're trying to get done. One of the challenges is they work at a slow and steady pace. That is a positive characteristic. But if you're dealing with a D or an I, man, they're like pushing them through. They want more, they want more, they want more. And they're the ones, slow and steady wins the race. Patient, attentive, loyal, even-tempered, except, and I'll get to the except in a minute. So they are the peacemakers and the nurturers of the world. And you know who some of those are. And they're super practical people. All right, here's some of the weaknesses that you need to be aware of. They need long periods of time to change. So they got to think about it. Wait a minute, let me think about it again. So when you tell them, oh, we're going to have a change in the organization, or we're going to change in the household, we're going to change the way we're doing stuff around here, they need time to process. They will avoid conflict, even though it needs to be addressed. So be aware that when they're being quiet and not contributing to the team, to the group, to the social, whatever it is. So be aware of that. Here is a big one. They hold grudges. They hold grudges forever. And then one day, guess what? It's like the erupting volcano. I mean, the lava comes flowing out, spewing out. And this can go on. They can hold this for years and years and years. So be careful when they say they're nodding in agreement, but inside they're fuming. And then one day, guess what? It comes spewing out. So they really strive for positive environments and relationships, but sometimes that can be a weakness, can it? And extremely sensitive, so be careful. You have to approach them with, okay, how is this person going to handle the fact that their work was not up to par? We have to be very careful on how we approach them. And again, very process focused. They need to know the step-by-step process. That's why they're so good at improving systems and processes. And I said, when they're not happy, they're not going to verbalize it. So you have to really pay attention, ask them again. So here's some things when working with an S. And I know that I'm going through this like rapid fire, but I'd rather go rapid fire, and then you can ask me questions later and you all know how to reach me. All right, so try to be personable and build rapport with an S person. Important. Genuinely interact with them as a person. Let them know that you care about them. By the way, I care about each and every one of you, as you know. Some of you I know, some of you I don't know, but I care about you. And so I really try to listen and just not bowl over and throw everything that I want to do at you. So provide specifications and clarification for the tasks that you're asking them to do. Could be your daughter, your son, your grandchild, your husband. Be very specific and be patient with them. Explain why you're doing something. Explain the value of what you're doing. Don't just say, because I said so. And match their pace. Right? And here's what not to do. Avoid being confrontational. Avoid strong tone and body language. Don't get too close into their personal space. Don't be overly aggressive, pushy, or demanding with them. Do it in a subtle way that you know they will accept it. Don't push them for an answer or decision, because like I said, they need to process. And when you criticize their work and ideas, they're going to shut down. And remember, I told you about that volcano that will erupt eventually. This volcano will erupt. And please, no patronizing. Okay, let's talk about my favorite. Now, my assistant who's on the phone, on the call, excuse me, he is a C type, and he keeps me in check. So I'm a high I, high D, and he keeps me in check. He is reserved. He's task-oriented. He wants to understand. 70% of the population is your C type. Like I said, they are the engineering people of the world, cautious, but they're very competent, extremely competent. They take them forever. And sometimes some of us will get frustrated with that, but they're very competent, very smart. Their biggest fear, you criticize their work, conflict, change. They don't like change. So here's the positive of being with a C. Those are your accountants. They're instinctive organizer. I have some of my friends that are just like really instinctive organizers. They're just really good at it. And they will say, hey, this is what we're doing, A, B, C, and D. I love it. They create and maintain systems. They love systems. Oh my gosh. They love writing a new code. They love logic. They strive for consistency. And of course, they don't want any of their work to have errors. They're great at maintaining the focus on the tasks. And they will see something until it's finished. They have to see the finish line and they have to get it done. And they do strive for consensus with others. And I know some of us can get frustrated when we're working with a C. I go, just get it done. He's like, no, I have to understand. Are we going from A to B? Are we going from red to blue? Are we going from this font to that font? They are the ones that you want to cover your butt and take care of the details. So I just want to do a shout out. Eric keeps me in line because he knows that I need it. So if you tell them to do it, they will do it if you tell them what to do. Now, here's some weaknesses. They avoid conflict. They don't want conflict at all. And sometimes it's difficult to get them to verbalize their feelings. I don't know if you're married to somebody or your partner's that way. Sometimes it's difficult for them to verbalize what they're really feeling. And they need boundaries. So we have to set boundaries with them for them to be comfortable. And again, they love methods, procedures. They don't want to be out of order. They don't like to stray from order. They find it difficult. And sometimes I get too bogged down with small details. When you ask somebody what time it is, I don't know. I do not want to know how the watch is built. And I have some friends of mine like, okay, if I ask him this is going to be a 20-minute conversation. Do I really want to ask him that question? Maybe not. And so I might pass. Okay, here's what you do when you're working with the C. And you've all worked with them. I know you have. Do your research. You better have your act together. You better have your statistics. You better be very prepared. Have your case in advance. Pay attention to the details. First thing they will notice if you give them something, if there's a spelling error or the figures don't add up, they will catch it right away. And then guess what? They're done with you. So give examples and support your idea with accurate data. Okay, so they love data. These are the more data. Give them parameters, give them details, give them data. And they love to analyze it. And again, be systematic and logical with them. Here's a big one. I mean, if you teach them something, like say they give you a spreadsheet, because C's love spreadsheets. They do. So you give them a spreadsheet and you say, you know what? That spreadsheet was awesome. And would you consider adding this to it? Oh, you got them forever, friends. They will love you. They will respect you. And they'll want to work with you again. Here's what not to do. Again, don't give them fluff. Don't speak in broad generalizations. And when they ask you a question, If you don't know the answer, be honest with them. I don't know the answer, but guess what? I'm going to find it, because you don't want to be vague and casual with them. And do not criticize the work they've done. They've already done. Do not do that, because they will cut you off at the knees and you'll never have them again. As I said, they fear criticism. So what we need to do is, there's something you see can be improved, then you share that with them. Say, I love the work you did. And have you considered, as I mentioned, enhancing it this way? Teach them something, they will love it. Don't be confrontational. They will shut down. I was working with a guy that was back in my corporate days years ago. And every time the boss would walk into his office, he would start shaking, because he knew that the boss was going to come in and confront him on something. And so we had to get him to calm down. And we had to have some feedback with the boss too. But when you confront them, they just shut down. No yelling, no screaming, and don't tell them that they are wrong. So this is a little quick guide that I have to effectively read people. And I'll share that with you. I'll share that with you. Now, many of you are probably thinking, well, how do I know what personality style I am? You can go on to tonyrobbins.com/disc/ and you can do a free assessment. Because what I want you to consider is, if you know what your personality style is, and you can have other people do it, then you can start looking at, how can I better communicate with these people? Because there are so many nuances. And if you've ever been in a conversation, have you ever been in a conversation where you didn't quite understand why this person was distancing themselves from you? Perhaps you didn't communicate and the way in which they need to be communicated to. So I always think about the audience that I'm going to either present to or teach to, and in a matter of moments, in the first few minutes of a presentation or a meeting, I can quickly, because I've been studying this for years, identify different personality styles. And when I do that, I can adjust the way I communicate. Because at the end of the day, if you in Texas don't understand me, I have to stop and say, what am I doing? Because first I have to look at myself. What am I doing that my message is not coming across to them? So I have to adjust, and I have to become the person they need me to become. And when I coach my clients, I say the same thing. We need to become the person that they need us to become. So you can be heard and they can be heard, and really, really listen to them. So when you can use the knowledge that I've just kind of shared with you to modulate your own personality and adjust as accordingly, then you will be a much more powerful communicator. So I suggest you want to do it, and then share with me when you do your personality styles. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on my Facebook page, Coaching with Maria. Put your comments in there. But the more, like I said, the more you know yourself, the better off you are in your communication style, because everyone communicates, but very few truly connect. Everyone communicates, very few connect, because they're so busy wanting to be heard. So, my friends, at some point in our lives, we need some mentoring. We need some guidance and coaching to get clarity on who we are, our visions, our passions, and our life in general. And I love doing these webinars every 2 weeks. I'm doing every 2 weeks with a different subject. I appreciate you asking me to do the DISC personality again. And I honor you for throwing me comments about what you want to hear. We can talk about courage. We can talk about clarity. We can talk about energy, focus, whatever it is, the topic that you want. I'm looking back on it, I've spent 40 years studying personal growth, personal development, and I need to bestow that wisdom onto others so you can bestow that wisdom onto generations that come. So thank you for listening in today. I appreciate you so very much. And if you have any questions, you have any comments, please shoot me. You can comment in the chat, you ask any questions. And what's interesting is I have another one at 1 o'clock with a whole different group of people, which I'm totally excited about, that I get to do it from Hawaii. So my friends, any questions, any comments, anything, you can say you're crazy. I loved it. I hated it, because I'm going to have haters out there, and it's okay. We're all going to. But at the end of the day, I just want you to live your best life and become the best version of yourself. And if I can help in any way, I'm here for you. Thank you all for attending. Aloha from the Big Island of Hawaii, Shaka. Bye, y'all. It's a little Southern drawl. So thanks, everyone. Have a marvelous Friday. Have a great weekend, and aloha.